So I was supposed to be doing stuff, but nothing's going right. So I'm gonna just watch this movie. No, I already forgot the name of it. Flowers of Shanghai, I think, maybe. It was sitting in the library, and I said, let me pick it up. It said Tony Leung, so I'm like, well, I haven't seen that one. It was a Criterion Collection, I think. So it's odd that I hadn't even, I don't think I've heard of it. Not that I'm a, whatever. So I'm gonna watch it. I'm probably just gonna lie down and watch it, but on the odd chance that I need to say something, I will. But otherwise, I'll come back at the end and say what I think. I gotta start making these phony reviews of mine. So I'm only like 5 minutes into this, and it seems like Tony Leung is in love with this crystal person, and he hasn't said a word. They're just going like panning back and forth to this conversation, and it's just like all over his face that he's like his face acting is tough. Now, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But right 5 minutes in, I'm like, okay, so he's in love with whoever Crystal is. Whoever Crystal is. So I'm mostly done with this movie, but man, I don't know what just happened. I have a lot to say about this. Okay, so at the beginning of this, like not too far into this movie, I was like, is anything better now than back then with the same... I mean, things are still a hot mess. You still have to depend on people. You still, like, I ended up doing that. I didn't want to do that. You know what I mean? I thought I was going to be, like I said, one of those 1980s type women who bring home the bacon and fry it up in a pan, right? But all that stuff is mostly made up, as far as I can tell. So I was like, are things better? And I've thought this before, and nobody's going to like me saying it, but good thing nobody watches these videos. Every once in a while I think about slave times in the United States and how we watch the movies and how horrible it is and stuff like that. I'm like, life isn't that great now. And I'm not trying to compare and contrast. The only way you could do that is if you took somebody who lived in those times and suffered under those times and put them now and had them suffer under these times and be in their 20s and 30s and say which is worse, because there are a lot of people who suffer. There are a lot of people who don't know where they're going to live. There are a lot of people who don't have money to put a roof over their heads. They don't know what their next day is going to be. And that's why I think some people go to jail and stay in jail, because at least they know where they're going. So there's a lot of things in our society that we're supposed to be so advanced compared to before. But I'm looking at these. This is just pimps and hoes, right? And there's all the gossip and stuff that I hate. But I still was a victim of gossip and everything. I still grew up around it. I wanted nothing to do with it. In the end, I didn't decide my life. I thought I would. So I never got away from that. I never got away from small-minded people. I never got away from all this. I think, I can't tell from this story. I wish they wore name tags. Because like I said in the beginning, Tony Leung was making faces and I was like, oh, maybe he was in love with Crystal. Spoilers. Turns out Crystal died. I don't even think we ever saw Crystal. And I'm saying to myself, okay, is that why he's a hot mess? And then they start explaining some of the movie. And I'm like, you're supposed to show, not tell. But it's complicated because this is how things are when you're either in a small community like that or villagey. And like I said, people who come from the old country came to the United States, did the same thing. Watch Brooklyn. You know what I mean? It's the gossip and all that stuff like that, which is a good movie, Brooklyn. But it's like people stay villagey and people stay gossipy, and instead of watching the news, there's the news of gossip, and it's lousy. And like I said, I hated it, but in the end, that's what ends up mattering, which is wrong. But if you stay in that kind of place where people are like that, so sometimes I look at these old things and I'm like, was that worse? I'm looking, they got all their nice clothes. Yeah, they're really dependent on somebody taking care of them, and if this one's gonna marry that one, and who, and this the other thing, and I'm still like, and they're addicted to opium and stuff. Well, hello, opioid crisis in the United States. I mean, yeah, these are the 2020s. I kind of think things are worse. We definitely don't dress that well. I'm giving this movie a 7 or an 8. I haven't decided yet. There's like 5 minutes left to go. I'm gonna see what happens, but I didn't really, a lot of the time I didn't know what was going on. Like I said, if they wore name tags, but I love their names. I mean, I think it's just their hooker names and not their real names. But they're like Emerald and Jade and Crimson. I was like, I never even thought of naming somebody Crimson. You know, back in the old days when I used to think I'd get married and have kids, I had names picked up, but they were like regular and like Anakin, not like Crimson. I was like, I never even thought of Crimson. It's a great name. I mean, it's a hooker name, but you know what I mean. And Treasure, I wouldn't name a kid Treasure, but for hooker names, because then I'm thinking Treasure from Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy, which makes it a super awesome hooker stripper name. But yeah, it's all convoluted, and it's just, I'm just sitting here going, this is why I hate women. Honestly, the gossip. I hate the gossip. I just hate the gossip and the jealousy and stuff that isn't only women do that, but historically speaking, they excel at it, and it's more their nature, and that's why I don't have friends in the old days. If I had chosen my life, which I didn't, if I had chosen my life, I would have had guy friends instead of girlfriends in terms of friends. Because I can't deal with the backbiting and the jealousy and the competition. I want no part of it. But yeah, so like I'm saying, what's the difference? The lighting's worse and we don't wear nice clothes. What's the difference? Oh, and I don't understand the business dealing at all. Like when they, okay, she wants her freedom, so this one's gonna give this money, and I'm like, why? Is she gonna marry him? It gets real confusing. Like they just kept Jade's face intact. They got Madonna's face. I really would have benefited from the arranged marriage days. I knew that years ago, but hey. What I feel like is better the most is like they kind of know the rules. There's like a real system in place. Now everything's too chaotic, you know. Like if anybody ever told me the rules of the game, meaning life, people told me the rules just like they tell you the rules of Monopoly or tennis or whatever, then I would have been like, okay, because I never understood the rules. Nobody told me anything. Nobody explained anything to me. That's why I'm such a hot mess. If I had known what the rules were, I would have played them. I mean, I would have played the game. I would have stuck to the rules. I'm a rule keeper, not a rule breaker. So it just ends with Crimson and then wait a minute, what? I don't know who the hell this is. I mean, like I said, name tags. Okay, that's Crimson. I got Crimson. Who the hell did Crimson marry? I don't remember who this is. Is that the nephew? This is a movie I'm gonna watch like 3 times. Name tags, just name tags. If I had more time in my life, I totally would watch this again. But yeah, I think once I understand it, I'll give it an 8 out of 10. But for now, I gotta give it a 7 out of 10. So one day it'll be an 8 out of 10. That's not the nephew, the one who just did the dowry thing, right? Because he had bigger eyebrows. I happen to go by eyebrows. Name tags.